Like you said, I'm Rueben Kennel. I work with Wenger Feeds. I work with our dairy producers. So I'm going to talk a little bit about how we work with them to work with the feeds that they have on the farm and the feeds that we can offer as a feed mill to balance their rations and help their cows to produce as cost effectively and as well as possible. So I'm going to start out a little bit talking about the feeds that are grown on the farm, because that is actually the most of what the cows eat in their diet are feeds grown on the farms. And so around this area, some of the feeds, the common feeds that are used on farms, corn silage is really big. Corn silage is used a lot. And of course, there's hay. If you can see behind me on this farm, there are pastures. So a lot of farms will have cows out on pasture in the summertime around here. And then, of course, there's hays, grass hays, alfalfas. We can have dried hays. And then also a lot of the things that we work with are helping the farmers to preserve their feeds through fermentation, to preserve those feeds so that we can get the most nutrients out of those feeds as possible for the cows. So I'm going to show you some examples of some feed samples. These feed samples would have been taken yesterday with some farmers that I met with. So here is, if you can see, that is a corn silage sample. In my bag of tricks here, I also have a hay sample. That would be a baleage, which is a wet, has moisture, so that is fermented, a fermented sample. And also then there's corn. Some farmers will keep their corn on the farm, and other farms will sell their corn, or some farms don't even grow corn. Some of the things that we talked about with some of the groups earlier today, every farm is different. So depending on climate, depending on the soils, depending on even as much as deer pressure. There are farms in some of the areas where you guys come from where they'll feed their cows all hay and we have to provide the rest from the feed mill. Other farms can have corn on the farm. And so this would be a sample of corn that is on the farm and stored on the farm. So after we take these samples, they get sent into our lab. And when they come to the lab, that lab will analyze them and we'll get sample results. So we're looking for some of the big things that are really important for dairy cows. Number one, protein. Number two, energy. And then, of course, there's all the vitamins and minerals and things that go along with that. But the main things that we look at for milk production first, day to day, are balancing that protein and energy level. So there's a certain amount of protein and energy that come out of the feeds. And so when we analyze those feeds, we look at inventories, we look at how many cows we have, how much we can feed those feeds throughout the year. And then we match those, make a ration and match those with the feeds that a farmer might have to buy in off the farm to make a total ration for their cows. So that's a lot of what I do day to day. Working with our farmers, our producers, to come up with those rations. One of the interesting things maybe a lot of people haven't seen, this tool right here is one that I use a lot when I'm taking samples. So this tool is called a hay probe, and this is what I would have got this sample with. It has a sharp bit on the end with teeth that are sharpened, and I can use that drill and go right into the bale. It's hollow, so it fills up with hay, and then I can push that out into the bag and get that sample ready to be sent to the lab. Some of the other things that I have here, we can take water samples, we can take manure samples, we can do all sorts of samples to figure out what's going on the farm. One of the things that I've seen over the years, we can do really precise, scientific lab results, but it really also all comes down to the basics of animal husbandry, taking care of your animals. Our farmers do a really, really good job for the most part, taking care of their animals. cows, making sure they have water, making sure they have feed. And those things are really important, making sure those cows are comfortable. So we work together with the farmer on those management sorts of things and on their feed ration to balance the ration for the cow. So that's really a lot of what I do from day to day. I guess I'll talk. I don't know how much you want me to go before we open it up to any questions anyone might have.
No, absolutely. So you've had some great visuals here, and I know I'm learning a lot as we're listening through to this. I guess something that you could talk about is maybe a little bit of schooling, or what did you have to do to get to your position, and what was something that interested you to make you choose this as your career? Because, I would say not many people realize there's a nutritionist for cows. So, how did you get to this point in your life?
Right. Yeah. So for me, it's kind of an interesting story. Early on, my schooling, I started out in my college schooling is more. I started out along the lines of biology, pre-vet, pre-med track, and decided at some point along the line that wasn't for me. But I grew up working on a dairy farm. My dad was a vet. I grew up with cows, showing cows and heifers in 4-H. And so that's always been in my blood. And so as I went through school, more of a straight biology type of a degree, but then ended up working with a conservation district out of school, working with farms there. Actually spent a little bit of time in a construction field, but then kind of I think the ag has always been in my blood, and so eventually came back to the ag industry and started working with the feed mill and with the dairy nutrition. So that's my story, and I guess I guess what I'd say about that is the dairy nutrition. It doesn't have to be a really, really specific track as far as your schooling goes. Anything in animal science, dairy science, biology, even chemistry is very helpful. And I would say with experience in your background, wouldn't even have to be a 4-year degree. I have a 4-year degree, but it wouldn't have to be that. So yeah, any other questions that way?
Yeah, no, that's wonderful. Let me look here real quick to see if we've got anything else. Do you work with a lot of farms? What's kind of your average day look like as a nutritionist?
You broke up there a little bit on your question there.
Oh, sorry. What's your average day look like as a nutritionist? Do you go on a lot of farms? Is it some office work? What's that kind of look like?
Yeah. So basically the way things are set up in the industry in general, with our dairy customers, we're on basically see our customers about every 2 weeks for most of our customers. So I have a schedule. I'm in certain areas certain days, every 2 weeks. So any given day, it depends on how far I have to travel to get into those areas. I might see anywhere from, I don't know, 4 to 6 or 8 farms per day, and basically just go from farm to farm and meet with them, evaluate their cows, see how they're doing, see if there's any changes that are needed in their feed programs. Just meeting with the guys and gals, and just working with them to make things run efficiently and cost effectively with their feed rations.
Wonderful. Great. Let's see, looking at some other questions here. What do you think is like the key skill to have to be a nutritionist? What's the one thing that you really think is important to be successful at your job?
Well, I think at my job, I mean, there's a few things. I don't know if I can say one thing. Obviously, I mean, I'm with people all the time, so the ability to really be a good listener, and also ask good questions at a basic level. Besides, the training and the schooling, that is obviously very important. But as far as people skills are really important, listening skills are really important. Being able to go on a farm and really see and evaluate what's going on, and ask good questions to figure things out, troubleshoot, problem solving. Those sorts of things are really important in my job, and really rewarding too.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure that's very rewarding and you get to work with all those farms and like you said, troubleshoot. You really get to help them figure out what could be wrong. As a farmer,
Right.
there's all kinds of things that could happen. The weather could just be affecting it, or maybe something needs to be different in their feed. So you come to help figure those things out, right? And help them get it right
Yep.
so those cows are happy and healthy.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And one of the things that makes the job really interesting and really fun is that there are so many, even within the dairy industry, there's so much diversity in types of farms that we get out on. I mean, we can be anywhere from here at White Knights where it's 25 or 30 cows. There's a lot of pasture. They have raw milk that they sell, kind of a really interesting niche type of a market going on. And then, we work with also a lot of conservative or Amish farms where, they're farming with horses and they have their challenges that way. Milking in tie stalls and a pipeline. And then we have farms that milk hundreds of cows, and their cows are housed in a different way in freestall barn and feed bunks. So there's just a lot of variety, a lot of different types of people that we work with as far as how they manage their facilities and the equipment that they have, the technology that they use or don't use. So it makes things really interesting and also challenging.
Yeah. No, absolutely. This has been really wonderful. I know I've learned a lot today, and I'm sure everyone else has too. And these have been great questions. Um, Rueben, are there any last minute things that you'd like to share with us about your career or just in general, words of wisdom to anyone before we hop on over to our last professional of the day?
I don't think I have a whole lot. Just thanks for having me. It's been really fun to get to talk to you guys and to share a little bit about what I do. And I hope it's been helpful as you all on the call on the tour really try to decide what it is that you enjoy and what you want to do. So thanks so much.